All right, turning now to another major political figure who's currently under extreme pressure for his dreadful handling of the Minnesota fraud scandal. Yeah, Governor Tim Walz, he's been in the news quite a bit lately. Shocking new evidence that shows the problem might even be worse than previously believed. Got to think about that. How much worse could this get? Walz and his team desperately trying to save face once again after a viral video emerged over the weekend showing that a number of the blue state's daycare centers, they're apparently fraudulent, abandoned, and totally inactive. But outside of that, it sounds pretty authentic. In that video, a guy named Nick Shirley goes on to a number of reputed Minnesota daycare facilities and discovers that many of them appeared nothing more than fronts for illegitimate organizations. Yeah, in one case, a child care center which received nearly $4 million in state funds is found to be completely empty with a misspelled sign over the door which reads leering instead of learning. Yeah, it's kind of a head scratcher. The video maker claims that in just one day, he uncovered nearly $110 million worth of fraud and that finding the alleged criminality was so easy, a kindergartner could do it. Goes on to say this is just tip of the iceberg, that taxpayers work too hard to allow this to happen. You and I, we're both taxpayers, and that Walz is an American pirate who must be held accountable for what's going on. Meanwhile, rather than taking full responsibility for their lack of oversight, the governor and his squad now pinning the blame squarely on, yeah, you guessed it, his own state legislature. What he's doing is kind of passing the buck, which is difficult because most of the bucks, they've already been passed. They've already been stolen, pilfered. They now say the governor has been trying for years to crack down on the problem and that the entire time he's been practically begging lawmakers for the power to take more aggressive action. They also claim, and check this out, that Walz has ultimately strengthened oversight throughout his state by launching investigations into a whole bunch of the daycare centers featured in the viral video. It's kind of like this. Tim Walz, no, he didn't invent delusional, but I think he kind of perfected it. Yeah, making things worse during last year's vice presidential debate, Walz actually bragged about how easy he made it for people in Minnesota to set up their own childcare business. One person on social media now jokes he made it so easy, people didn't even have to provide any childcare at all to get paid. It's the perfect crime. And final thought, this is the News Roundup Lowdown. The most interesting part of this story is that a representative for the governor says that Timbo has tried to crack down on fraud. Now, it's only a guess, but when the representative said that, perhaps that was his shot at sarcastic, acerbic humor. It's like Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, Little Nicky, saying he's trying to crack down on drug trafficking. No, he's really not. Just thought we'd go international for just a brief moment. Now, look, even if the claims are authentic, the hopefully soon-to-be ex-governor Tim Walz tried to fix issues related to fraud and corruption. He failed miserably in his duties as Minnesota's chief executive officer. And were he in the private sector, the board of directors, they would have fired him a long time ago. Once removed, the board would install a new CEO. Confidence in the output, it'd be restored. Stock prices might rise. Shareholders would be more than happy. And there would possibly even be a sweet year-end dividend. Hey, Minnesota, you're a business. Fire your governor, your CEO. Install new management. Get your state back on track and prepare to live happily ever after. Bottom line, Governor Tim Walz has essentially been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Up to $9 billion in cookie-type fraud is being investigated, and it all happened on his watch.